Welcome to Chas's Crazy Creations. Come join us on our next traveling adventure. And we are traveling to Putt-in-Bay on Lake Erie. Hi, I'm Chas. And a big thanks to Miller Ferry for sponsoring this video. Now, we opted to park our car and leave it here, but you can bring it onto the island if you prefer. There is an additional charge to bring your car. Want my free packing list? Look for the link in the description below. We started at Catawba Island, and Miller Ferries from there goes to Putt-in-Bay and Middle Bass. And Miller Ferries travels to both of these islands several times a day. You can purchase the tickets online in advance, or you can step up to the ticket booth and purchase them right there. Once you have your tickets, you proceed forward, and they have a beautiful covered shelter for you to wait under to protect you from the sun, wind, rain, any of the elements, and more. Now here's a look at the ferry coming in, and we actually got there right when the last ferry had left. But by the time we got our tickets, walked down, set ourselves up, took in the view, the time went by really fast. And before we knew it, the next ferry was arriving and getting ready for us to board. Now you have choices to sit or stand on the ferry, and they do have an indoor section in case it's windy or cold. The outdoor section also has a covered section to protect you from the sun and the elements as well. And once all the passengers and all the cars were loaded, we were ready to take off. Now, I have to admit, I am a huge fan of riding ferries, and Miller Ferry is no exception. I just think it's a great way to pay a very little fee to go out on a boat and enjoy a boat ride. You get wonderful views, you can see the islands, you can watch the wildlife, you can watch the water. It's very relaxing. So I would even do this just to ride out to an island and ride back. Or perhaps you want to ride out to the island and just have an ice cream cone, or maybe go to a restaurant and ride back. We pulled up to the dock, and then we got off the Miller Ferry and started walking up the hill to Putt-in-Bay. Now, once you get off the boat, you can travel by foot. There is a bus that you can get that takes you into town, or a taxi, but one of the most common ways to get around if you didn't bring your car over is to rent a golf cart. And we went with Ease Golf Carts. Now, I just loved the names of all of the golf carts. Each one had a great name on it, and I asked if I could film all the different names. I couldn't even make it through them all, but I was cracking up over all the names that there were. We got the cart that was Jack Skellington, and since we're huge Nightmare Before Christmas fans, we were happy with that. Now that we've got our golf cart, we are ready to explore. So I want to share some of the places we went and the things we did. Now, I want to mention that we are traveling in the month of September. The island was quiet. We actually really enjoyed this, and the trees were starting to change. So it was really easy to get around town. Now, we stayed at the Putt-in-Bay Resort and Conference Center. Now, if you're looking for a place to have a conference, this might be the place for you, as they are a conference center. By the weekends, most people, they said, are in the pool, and you can see it's quite a pool with a hot tub and a bar. We've heard it's even standing room only, and the weekends are the busiest time. Okay, so we hopped on the golf cart and we traveled to one end of Putt-in-Bay. We started up on the Chef East Point Nature Preserve. I will say on the island there is a lot of great signage with lots of good information and includes how far the distance of a little loop or a walk or a hike is. We walked this lovely hike with stunning views, and it also had little memorials to see along the way. So leaving the furthest tip, we moved back in and went to the Massey Cliffside Preserve. This was a wonderful one-way walk out to the cliffside. When you got to the end, there was a lovely park with some signs to read and a dock. The rocks on this beach were very, very white. We could see Miller Ferry coming in, and you could see the cliffside when you got out on the dock and looked back in. By the way, the trees were changing during this time of year, and it was absolutely beautiful. From here, we drove back into town, past the boardwalk, and over to the other side of the island. We stopped at Oak State Park to enjoy the view. While we were on our golf cart, we saw the Putt-in-Bay tour train. It's another way to see some great sights very easily. There are grape fields on the island, more about that later, and there is the Crown Hill Cemetery. Next, we stopped at the South Bass Island State Park. So we started at the Chef East Point Nature Preserve, and now we are on the complete opposite end of the island and almost back to the Miller Ferry where we started. Now we're not done yet, but this is quite a view. But some other key points of this area are there's a campground here, and you can see the cliff sides as well. There's a playground and some covered picnic areas. One of the things that I love here is the sign, so you can take a posed picture with the sign at Putt-in-Bay. Our next stop is the South Bass Island Lighthouse. There are great historical signs, an incredible view, and the classic lighthouse. I absolutely love this lighthouse. Next to the lighthouse, there were these windmills and beautiful sunflowers, so I had to stop and take a look at those as well. Our next stop was the Jane Coates Wildflower Trail. Now, this time of year, there weren't really any wildflowers, but it was still a great little walk. Now, the Lake Erie Islands Nature and Wildlife Center is said to be a favorite. Unfortunately for us, it was closed this day, but we were able to see that they had little gardens that attracted butterflies, hummingbirds, bees, and more. So I think it would be a great stop. Now, we didn't stop at Perry's Cave Family Fun Center because it was just the two of us, but they do have a butterfly house, a cave, they have a fort maze, as well as mini golf there. Across the street is Heinemann's Winery and Crystal Cave. You can go on a tour, see the world's largest geode, and taste some wine. They also have a QR code where you can scan it and get a free personalized tour of the island. Next, we went to the Dodge Wood Preserve and the Putt-in-Bay Story Walk. This is a unique loop where you walk and then you get to read a page of a story, and then you walk to the next one and read a page of story until you make it all the way around and you've read the entire story. Next, we drove over to Perry's Monument and International Peace Memorial. Walking right up to the memorial is free of charge. If you would like to climb to the top, you just simply have to purchase tickets and you can climb to the top and check out the view. There are flags all around the International Peace Memorial, and the view of Lake Erie is incredible. There's plenty to learn all about this monument, and there's a visitor's center. In addition to that, the monument was made in 1913. We had our cart for an entire day, and it was time to turn it back in. Ours was not for overnight rental. From there, we walked our way to Goat Soup and Whiskey for dinner. They had a lot of amazing things on their menu. Now, I'm always looking for something that I grew up with, and that is either walleye or perch. We were able to sit outside, and the ambiance and the view was lovely. We actually have one of these in Colorado, but the menu is totally different. This one is way better. I couldn't decide between the walleye or the perch, but guess what? They let me have both. I was so excited. And my husband, he also had walleye as well. After dinner, we walked through town on our way back to our hotel. We saw a fire truck bar, the grocery store, and there are tons and tons and tons of places to eat. In addition to that, there's an area called the Boardwalk. This is an additional area with tons and tons of food places to eat. There's also even a little gifts and apparel store. This sign right next to the boardwalk is a great little place to take pictures. As we continued to walk, we saw several restaurants, a lovely park with a beautiful view, as well as tons of shopping opportunities. I found some really great deals at this store at the end of the street and got myself a cute little tank top for just $12. We stopped by the sign to check out places we might have missed, as well as got the contact information for anything we might need. We took one last walk through the park, and then we headed back to the hotel for the evening. We were pretty wiped out. The next morning we had a little bit of time, so we checked in our luggage as the hotel would hold our luggage for us while we walked around until it was time to go. We saw the craziest pools, the craziest bars. Now we know that this is totally a weekend party scene like spring break somewhere. But we had a very enjoyable time on the island because it was so quiet during the week and it was not the popular time of year. I think if you brought your kids too, if you brought them at the right time, then you would have a very enjoyable time. One thing that can happen, though, on an off season is that sometimes things are closed. So keep that in mind when you go during an off season. The Visitor Center is another great place to pick up any information that you need. And I did notice that this seemed to be where the depot was to pick up that train that I mentioned earlier. We were also too late for the carousel. They had been picking it up and closing it down for the winter months. And for all my DIY friends, check out this sidewalk. Someone DIY'd with broken bottle glass pieces and rocks and made this amazing sidewalk art. Now, we did this trip in about 24 hours. I would say it would have been a little nicer to take a few more days. So that's my word of advice if you're coming to the island. Slow it down and enjoy it. The people are absolutely lovely to talk to. There's so many stories to tell. They're so friendly. It was a great time, and I hope to come back. So we're back to Miller Ferry, and first, they let the cars off, then the cars on, then the people come on. This time we decided to stand on the bottom. Okay, you know I was moving all around the boat to see everything, but we really enjoyed the view and the ride on the way back. Are you ready to ride Miller Ferries over to Putt-in-Bay and check out the island as well? Let me know in the comments below. And can you believe it? There's really not even a cloud in the sky today. And another big thanks to Miller Ferries for sponsoring this video. And you might be interested in my ultimate travel planner. Look for the link in the description below. And I hope this inspires you to check out Miller Ferries and Putt-in-Bay. And be sure to check out millerferry.com. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel and my blog at chascrazycreations.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.